And if you ever had an retreat conversation before with me, you know it can go wherever it go.
Something to think about with Dale Happy Knowles. What we think, we become. What we radiate, we attract. What we imagine, we surely can achieve. Let's change the narrative, 242.
Welcome 242 to Something to Think About with Dale Happy Knowles. We're here this evening. We're going to have a discussion with the Honorable Danny Johnson. You know, we call them Honorables for life. You know, they were there one time ago, but we don't never take them titles away from you. You know,
that's nice
so
of you.
We want you to welcome and join our co-sponsors, Dom Dev Enterprises and Paget Investments, and our friends at Something to Think About, all 107, 8, 9 now, somewhere around there, who all support us. Some 107 we on now. We can keep on going, building this country from step to step. So welcome, Doc. How you doing today?
Fantastic, man. Good to see you. Happy Independence, everybody. The blessings of the Lord be upon you, and in all things, at all time, we give thanks.
Right. Awesome. You like that, you know, we like to set the stage right, to know who it is, who guiding us, and where we going. And so we love to hear that. You know, we're going to talk about this promise, you know, and what happened way back when, and where we going now, and what we could do to fulfill it as we go. And so, Doc, just to recap a little bit now, you've been to England. You know, we used to say that in QC about people who go to England to school, we call them bending, they get their BTEs, whether they come back with a degree or not. But you came back with plenty of degrees, right? And you are, I consider to be a highly skilled, colonial trained person, born and to do doctoring, or doctors, or become a doctor, because you know that's what we like to do as colonialists. We want you to be a doctor, a lawyer, or accountant, you know, and we don't take any strife from you for going that route. You know, as little children, we know it's only but so much clout we had to do or to say which direction we go. Not suggesting that was your plight, but in general, that's how it is in that mindset. And so, but we want to know that the colonial system of education has really played a good benefit for our country, even though many of us are still real grounded to know that the difference between being colonial and being Bahamian. And so we want to tap into the Bahamian side of us, who had the privilege of being on both sides of the fence, to share with our audience today why we were doing some of the things that we do, because I find today a lot of people are misguided or misdirected in their thinking. And I think we need to put the brakes on a little bit and go back 50 years. So we've already done the road to 50 and celebrating, but we want to recap some of that in a highlight way, but then speak to the actual promise that was made way back then, and what we were able to accomplish, what we still have to accomplish, and maybe how we can do that. But we need to start with some of these things. And as an ankle and foot doctor, as I call you, the ankle and foot doctor, I don't know if that's the right term, but
that's fine. That's it.
You're
good.
You are paramount in keeping people erected, upright, and just. And that's what we want you to do today, to keep our minds that way in terms of our identity in this Bahama land, as we know as the Bahamas today.
Yeah.
And moving forward. And so I think one of the good things, if we could start with knowing that you're the sports enthusiast and political activist and historian extraordinaire, you know, that you will be able to frame for us using the instruments that independence, as I call them, to help us understand what our identity was and what the promise was. Now, I know I've said a lot, but you're a scholar, man. You some fellas who remember everything people say.
Well, thank you very much, Happy. So Happy and I, just for context for the listeners out, Happy and I went to school together. We were the first of a generation of people, and some people forget this, who were integrated into an all-white school. Queens College in the 1950s and early 60s was not for us. And we had functional apartheid in the Bahamas up until that point. And this is where people who say nothing happened for us during independence, they got to be joking. But Happy and I went to Queens College. Our entire families went there. And I wanted to make this central point at the beginning and I make it at the end. That wasn't our choice. We were sent.
Right.
Okay? And we were sent there to make, these information technology things. At the end of your message, you press what? Send.
Yeah.
Well, our parents had no computer, never seen a computer. My father grew up on Dumfries, Cat Island. My mother from Abercoes. They never seen cars, electricity, running water in their time as children. And we get to press send. But before we saw the technology, they knew what it meant. So they sent us. I want for your listeners to know that you and I are colleagues and friends. Happy's one of the greatest baseball players ever in the history of the Bahamas. If we had better coaches, he would be a professional baseball player when we were younger. On the other side, I went to school in Brebeuf in Canada, Montreal, McGill University, University College London, been to Glasgow University, Scotland, England, Ireland, Wales, North Africa, Hong Kong, Brazil, Barcelona,
Now
Miami.
You've been to them places, or you studied in
To
them
school.
places? Because some people say you walk through and you've been there.
No, I have the degrees, and some of it I was interested in, some of it I wasn't. But once again, I didn't go there on my own accord. I was sent. They pressed send on us, them Happy.
Yep.
And they pressed send on us because none of my parents had a university education. Both of them left school whenever they tell you leave in them days, probably grade 7 or something. And they had to prove to the world, to the establishment, that because they were moving in this direction, that these young people coming up behind them could achieve what others said we could not achieve.
Right.
We could do what other people said they couldn't do. So we were sent. And my old man told me, look, if you don't pass, don't come back. And my grandfather said, well, you know what you got to do? You need to be first in your class. Or don't tell nobody you was my grandson. We were sent. But for a reason. And in order to establish yourself as a people, as a nation, you have to send out, and we can get to Sir Lyndon's words, Lady, to all these warriors and Amazons of virtue and people who have passion. And these people we send out, they hold the dreams and aspirations of our ancestors. If it ain't about you, I don't mind what they tell me that I had to go and do.
Right.
When they send you, go get it done, because it's a part of a process that we are in. And I want to say in this opening, the process, people got to get it, of a nation is part human and part divine. So everyone talk about this Moses, Joshua thing, but they can't, you got to explain straight to people. This is part human and part divine. The success of the Bahamas is more on the divine than the human. If we would admit it and agree it, and we're in the middle of a storm happening worldwide, we are safe and happy, and you can worship, and you could be anything you want to be, go anywhere you want to go. That's where they sent us. Now, this promised land, and your phrase earlier, what was the promise of independence? That's the thing about this promised land. But you have to now engage. And you have to send more people. Now, we done been, right? Me and you, we've been to college. I've been around the world but 3-4 times. We done been. So now when we go to send again, we have the authority, but we also have the responsibility to make sure we are following the blueprint from where we began.
Yeah, and that blueprint at the beginning, like we said, was the colonial founded, where we were so ingrained in that system as a colony. And so, yes, at that time there would have been the doctor, the lawyer, and much later the accountant would have been the prime professions that people wanted you to get into.
Yeah, but that was only socioeconomics. That was just socioeconomics.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying now, though, we need to get to the point where we're going to broaden this base and embrace all of these different professions and put the same energy behind that. Because, I mean, that's the only way we're going to be able to really, 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 really get to complete this promise.
But you're going too far, too fast.
No, that's what I'm saying. So I'm saying before we get to all of that, though, let's step back and look at you. You have this pedigree of these two giants of parents that many people might know. So to put some context behind the knowledge that you and your family siblings have, just give us a snippet as to who your father was, your mom was. I know you said where they were from, but I don't think that speaks enough credit to their doing. Not that they produce you. I mean, that's one thing, but I mean in terms of them as individuals.
Well, in that vein, I'm the last of 12. I'm the last button on Abraham jacket. So I'm the last of Sylvia and Oscar's run. So I think I don't know if I was produced. I think I might have been like, one of them love child right at the very end, and like, wow, who's that? So I tell my kids, I don't have no christening picture. I ain't got no baby picture. I don't remember. I had no birthday party by the time as I come around. I'm number 12. Okay. Mm-hmm. So by the time as I reached, they'd be sitting around on the table on Sunday, and my mom would say, Anthony, Pedro, Patrick, Gerald, boy, what I talking to you? What's your name? Mm-hmm. I say, well, my name is Danny. Say, I talking to you. Go get the ketchup. Go get the thing. Like, oops. I'm number 12. So I appreciate your notion of pedigree. But it is deeper than that for us. You're a product of your environment, but the blessing flows deeper towards purpose.
Right.
And in families, which is the foundation of the human experience, you have groups of families that are good at different things. You have musicians, you have priests, you have educators, you have healers, you have helpers, you have carpenters, you have, plumbers, you have architects, you have artists. It runs in, and it may be genetic, it may be the gift. I don't know what it is, but it may run in these families. I look at the Cambridges, and there's some brilliant musicians. You look at, the I call them the brothers, who used to be from the Rock of Fort Fincastle. We call that the Rock, right? And Stan Burnside, and his one's an architect, but they have a gift, and you watch that gift that flows through their whole family. Mm-hmm. So we must also realize when you get a gift, that's also divine. You didn't develop this thing yourself. I'm a helper healer, but I didn't do this myself on my own. My grandfather, E.P. Roberts, told me I am his doctor because I had to do his eye drops, get his medication. Me and him was together half of my life. And he made me what I am in the first instance. And he handed me on to Patrick Roberts, who taught me how to do it. Mm-hmm. But it's not mine. It's gifted to you. And so my parents, Oscar Johnson on one side, giant of a person, probably deserves some, I would say, independent study from other people, not ourselves, to understand people like him, relentless in his pursuit of justice for ordinary people. When I say relentless. Mm-hmm. And he was on the right side of history with the stuff he was talking about. So I would say to you, between him and Sylvia Roberts, so he was a pauper and my mother was a princess from Pigtail Alley. and they meet and they produce this legacy. The embodiment of that legacy is this woman on the wharf who used to be forgotten and has been resurrected literally. The monument, it's not a statue, it's a monument of the Bahamian Madonna and Child that stands now at the new entrance of the new port of Nassau. It is the only monument there that was placed there with himself, my mom, Dame Doris Johnson. Cora was there that day, and I was there that day with them. They placed this monument to tell this story of the power and passion of our story, but also the pride and prejudice that went against us in getting to there. And I tell my children, there is, behind the glory, there's a story. And we got to get that right before we progress. Because you're not going to get progress until we get this story right. I put it to you, we just come off a grand celebration. We had some good educational stuff. It was really well done. Kudos to Leslie and Miller and to everyone who did what they've done for the past several days. First class. But you got to go a little deeper. There's a story behind this thing, this blessing that we have as a country.
And that's why we want to have this conversation today under the tree, because sometimes we get caught up with all of the great things that we're doing and missing out that we could do some smaller things that mightn't be so great or what have you, that is going to fulfill a bigger picture and cause even greater results than before. And so your parents, like most of our parents, would have been involved in this era of time when we had the movement for majority rule. And my understanding with majority rule at the time, once that had materialized with the one man, one vote, was that in the Bahamas under the Penland administration, they weren't really looking for independence at the time, but really for internal rule. Excuse me. So if we look at, they had this view, and we have a video on it. I don't know if Madam Producer has it queued up, but
play it, man. Play it so everyone could see it, hear it, and understand it.
Yes. So
and then you got to tell them about these symbols. I got a book. I'm in my library. Just jump over and get this book. I got it.
A new era began. 50 years of a small country doing big things. Our faith, our people, and our values are the source of our strength. Together we share joy and survive the hardest times by leaning on each other. Now, as we confront a changing world, we need to grow stronger. That means standing up for ourselves, protecting our borders, investing in our family islands, growing more of what we eat at home, owning more of our economy, and above all, investing in our people. Lifting each other up, that's who we have always been. We know where we came from, so we know where we're going. Happy Independence, Bahamas. May God bless us all.
Yeah, so that one would have been what we were going to play at the beginning for Independence celebration, say happy, but we just flowed way past that one. But we're going to get to the one now with Lyndon. He would have been Lyndon Penland at the time when majority rule was the first time.
Not so much as there used to be, but I think there still is.
No women at all?
No women at all.
No white women have votes?
No women at all, white or black.
Do you regard that as democratic?
I don't, but I think the ruling clique does.
Well, what is the ruling clique?
They're composed of merchants who operate along the main street known as Bay Street, whose fathers and forefathers have really been ruling the country for, well, since the British took over from the Spaniards.
But you want independence?
No, our party does not want independence. We want full internal self-government, but not complete sovereign independence.
All right. So, yes, so what we wanted to frame for you out there in social media the mindset of what was happening at the time when the promise was made. And so Doc is now going to lead us through some of the instruments of independence that really was set to define what our identity as a people was to be. And some people always come to me and say that we never had no plan, no vision, no this and stuff, and I totally disagree. We might not have everything in one document to give to the people, but if you listen to all of Sir Lyndon's sermons and others in his cabinets and the like around, preachers and what have you, you could see what the vision was. They all were working towards the same thing. And maybe it needs to be adjusted. But Sir Lyndon and Doc, I think this is the right quote on the screen.
It is.
Yeah, it said many battles have been won, but the struggle is far from over. We must continue to build a Bahamas where people feel proud about themselves and about their country. We must still build a Bahamas where the common good supersedes the individual good. Maybe I could say that again. The Bahamas where a personal goal is in harmony with the national goal. Maybe I can say that again. We still have a heritage to explore, a destiny to create. Sir Lyndon opinion at the time.
That is a quote from the book called The Vision. It is from that's the first paragraph on the speech called The New Frontier. And, we are present in a new day government. People think that was a slogan. That's not it. Right. We're really looking at ourselves as a people to ask ourselves where we've come from. Now, to be honest with where we are now, which you have to admit, we have some frailties. We made, we're not perfect. We may have made some mistakes along the way. That's okay. Let's just have an honest conversation. But then ask, well, where do we want to go? And that's an engaging question that now goes back to the dreams and aspirations of a people, a group of people. That's how you build a nation. So what he was speaking to, I'm going to hold this up, because a lot of people, when they say we don't have a plan, that's the book.
Right.
It's simple. It's almost silly. It's called The Vision. It ain't, it's not a mystery.
Right.
It's written. The Bible tells us, write the vision, make it clear. Right? That's why I write a lot of stuff. Write the vision and make it clear. There are principles that you must engage in if you're going to lead people. And we have this little nation. If we can get this story right, and we need the writers and the poets and the entertainers and the musicians to stop talking about just because she's fat and things of nature of what, who pretty and who ugly, and no one's interested, actually. We need to be talking about what is the mythology of us as a people. That's what self-rule is. You get to do what the Creator did. You get to create this environment for yourselves to live in. If someone could tell you right now, say, look, we're going to give you a place, and just off the coast of Florida, got 700 islands and keys, good weather 99.9% of the time, English speaking, US dollar, Bahamian dollar, 1-to-1. And if you want to, you could, you organize it and you call it what you want to call it and see what you could do. And we can check you in a couple 100 years. That's the Bahamas. They dropped us off here to save. And we talk about the colonial part of our country. We forget our story did not begin with slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. I hear so much about slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. That ain't where I'm from. My father's people from Liberia and my mother's people from Ghana. And both come from a royal line of kings, inventors, poet laureates. I know dying poisoners live in shackles my whole existence. And this is in reference to our independence. What Sir Lyndon was talking about was in reference to our forefathers' dream for us. We getting lost because we forget what the dream was about. I can show you another piece of this book. I don't normally show this to people. I show this to you from the date. I don't know if I can try to do it so you could see it. You got a lady who wrote that.
Yeah, you gotta probably read that because
that's my first mother-in-law. I can bring it close. I'm going to hold it good enough. You can be able to see it. That's Marguerite Pendling's signature. Right? To Danny from Daddy.
Right.
It says, don't let the dream die. Stay on course with the vision. They knew where they were going. We never been lost. We never been captive. We never been, see, that notion of slavery, that's this.
Right.
We've been in transition. So I come back to your phrase about these national symbols. So my grandfather and Timothy Gibson were best friends. I get to see them at a piano when Timothy Gibson is doing his glorious stuff. I sent you a picture of him one day. You know, I don't know why we haven't made him one of our primordial national heroes. Different story. These fellas were talking about these symbols now are going to transcend your everyday existence. So the symbols of a nation, okay, not to the flag yet,
right?
The marlin, the flamingo, Santa Maria, the crown to the top, the motto to the bottom, the waves, everything, the embodiment of a people now. And I give you Carl Gustav Jung, Jung, a great friend of Sigmund Freud. His book is called Man and His Symbols. The symbols that we incorporate as people are meant to transcend our everyday existence and point us to what you want to be, not what you are.
Right.
So our national symbols, just because it's the lignum vitae and a beautiful flower and this and that, that ain't what they're talking about. They're talking about what is in this thing that is stronger than you can imagine. And they're saying that this thing is also in you. That's the nature of our national symbols, that these things that these people have left behind to point us in the right direction. As Gatorade says it perfectly, is it in you? You really Bahamian? I saw one thing on the weekend. They were fighting Abaco, Haitian fighting American. I don't know what that is about. That ain't Bahamian. That's not us. The nature of being Bahamian is like our national symbols. They're pretty, but they're strong. We know we're good looking. We know how strong we are. We ain't nothing to prove. And our weapon is our charm. Our politeness, our humor. We don't have an army. We ain't got a real navy. We don't have no nuclear weapons. We don't need them. We are who we are. That's symbolic of a group of people that everybody wants to be like. Everybody wants to come to the Bahamas. Everybody wants to know what makes these people so special.
So the promise is embedded and symbolized in all of these instruments of independence.
Correct. And the promise is our physical environment, that this place has something physical, structural, that is absolutely, Saul Coisen and Cohen come in and got it right away. It's a one and only. We are the one and only place like this on earth. Nothing is like it. The promise is social. That these people, we could sit on Arawaki and 2 prime ministers come up, they sit down, we talk, you grab a beer, you laugh, you could even row. They don't even bother them. And, and he's literally standing beside you. Our society is different. Our family structures, the way we worship, the way we live, as our sociology of being Bahamian is our own thing. The symbolic thing is, the promise is mental. In our minds, Happy, we grew up thinking, being taught, knowing that we could actually be anything we wanted to be. That's what they sent us to do.
Yeah.
Well, you
One
could
of the
do
base
anything you
public.
want to.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I believe
that's.
that.
I mean, but you could do. That's how we grew up. The mind, put that in a child's mind, and why? He was Bahamian, boy. What's wrong with you? He was a Bahamian. Go out there, do what you want to do. Now you have to do it properly.
Yeah.
There's a price to pay. You need the discipline. You need the hard work. You need to honor it. You got to be true to it. But you could do it. That's in the mind.
Yeah.
And then the
And
fourth
I
part of the
mentioned that.
promise. Yeah.
I mentioned that only to say I was far from the most athletically talented person out there on the fields. But because I made a commitment to myself that I wanted to be a major league player, I was able to play with some of the greatest players that we had at that level, right? Only because I put in the preparation, the due diligence, etc., and I see that same thing. If we do that in our community, we will be at the top all of the time. I mean, and the top doesn't mean that you are the actual apex, but you could still protect the top of what your potential is.
Right, as being the best that you could be, right? And then this segues into the final piece of what our forefathers were telling us. It's spiritual. That the real transcendent nature of being human is knowing and understanding that we belong to something greater than us. The magic of being man or woman or humankind. You must at some point in your development realize you belong to something greater than you, man. And when you find that, you want to be with that. People call it the Holy Ghost, the Bhatna Vita, the Karma, whatever they want to call it. When you encounter it, you know it. Why? It's a part, it's in you, it's a part of you. So we know that we got our charge on July 10, 1973, from a young man at the time, the great R.E. Cooper, Sr. And he told us where this charge came from, the book of Peter, the voice, the chapter, the line, and where we were going, and the date and the time, that this was a divine intervention by God himself for these people who they claim, that phrase, the stone that the builder rejects becomes the head cornerstone, that we will be the greatest little country on earth. And why? Not because of you or me, because of this blessing.
Right.
And that's spiritual. So there's a spiritual thing about our country, our symbols, our people, that allows us to rise above the ordinary and do great things. And let's face it, that's the art of being human. The art of being human is to encounter the divine, and it's in you. So we got a whole nation of people based on the notion of transcending yourself to be closer to the idea of this common loftier goal, which is attached to God.
Yeah. So now if we frame that just now and put the context now of the question that was put to Sir Lyndon, and he said they wanted to be full internal rule, and and where you say to bring out the best of the people themselves, not necessarily to be independent. What would you say is the difference for people to understand between independence and being full eternal rule?
So, and it is really simple. Think of the basic necessities of life. I go to food. So Lyndon was ahead of his time. My father was ahead of his time. E.P. Roberts was ahead of his time. DeCosta Williams ahead of his time. R.F. Anthony Roberts ahead of his time. Livingston Coakley ahead of his time. Okay, Cecil Wallace Whitfield ahead of his time. They knew there's no such thing as full independence. You can't be alone. Full independence means you got to do everything for yourself now.
Right. Okay.
God even tells you, say, man, even ain't meant to be alone. That's what he's saying. The Bible telling you, you ain't meant to be alone. There's no such thing as independence. This is an interdependent world. You don't want to go it alone. There are 72, I think, Commonwealth countries. I don't know what they're down to now. They have the same language, the same mores, the same histories. and they went it together. They haven't done badly. You look at now, the Soviet Union, old Soviet Union breaks up. The guys are coming back. They capture Crimea. They're going after Ukraine. If Ukraine was by himself, they'd walk over them in 2 days. But they're not alone. You look at what's happening in the South China Sea. You look at what's happening in South America. All over the world, you realize no country stands alone. The great America couldn't survive without its allies. World War I and World War II would not have been won by the democratic rule if they had to go it alone. So he knew at the time that independence is a phrase, a construct, a framework of speaking to an aspiration that this is a sovereign land. We make our own decisions. Now, when you make that decision, it has consequences. So you got to put it into context. That's what he was saying at the time. So independence, when it was a political hotbed, UBP didn't want it. We released some more documents this week about where they were going with it, what that was supposed to be. That's not what the people of the Bahamas wanted. The people of the Bahamas wanted to make their own identity, have their own culture, own their own land, vote in their own elections, make their own decisions as a nation, as a group of people. And that was what they meant by internal self-governance. We make our own decisions. And I pitch it to you, I put it in common words for regular people, that what this was about was actually, in my family and my friends, you could say anything you want about us internally, right? But don't let nobody turn up happy who none of us know. Yeah. And someone go on to my good friend Monique Miller one day and complain with me one day. She likes to kill them.
Yeah.
You crazy.
She did so.
But she want to slap all the teeth out your mouth. You say, no, you don't even know him. Rugged, boom. He knock you out in front of the people in church. That's internal self-governance. It means we take care of each other. That we know in our families who is solid. And we know we have weak spots in our families. We know in our communities where the thing is solid. We know we have some weak spots in our community. We know in our country, we got some things we do well, and we know there's some things we don't do so well. But for us, we got to protect and preserve that which is ours. That's what Lyndon was saying.
Right, and we just had a discussion with that actually today, lunchtime thereabouts, and then last night, two different sets of people. One, a young group of young people, and they were talking about the same thing, how nobody coming within their squad to mess with them. And when
to disrupt them.
Another one was when we were talking about sports, and how when it comes down to sports, and the lady was saying on Twitter, Bahamians defend Bahamians on Twitter, just like how we just defend sports. When we go to fight against the world, it's like, you will see Bahamians rise up, go on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter like that, but they say you attack a Bahamian on Twitter about being Bahamian, and all come to lay on top of the people's head and so forth, which is significant.
So that's not independence. That's not independence, right? But that is now having our internal self-governance, self-control, self-respect. Now, this is where you build a nation of people, because this is a thought that they are building for us. And this is where the promise is happening. This is the promise. Right. The promise is that when you get your national identity, right, you're going to do what the Creator did for us, and you put a place in the mind. As a man thinketh, so is he.
Right.
And you realize he's getting you to create your own identity. Right. You can become, when you have internal self-governance, we can go to Parliament next week and change anything you want change to suit yourself.
Right, yeah.
You running, this ain't no tuck shop. We are running a nation of people. It's our own nation. Don't let me run out of time with you, Happy, because I did last time. I got to tell you of the 7 drivers of human and social development, because this is where they were going.
Yeah, but before you go there, Larry Davis says, Dr. Johnson, I agree that the Bahamas is an amazing nation. From a historical perspective, the immigration of the Loyalists made the lasting impact on the Bahamas, as are the majority of the modern Bahamian population the descendants of the Loyalists and their slaves. How is the Bahamas distinct?
Well, I think we're distinct in many ways. One, what happened with the transatlantic movement, the majority of those ended up in the United States, and some, of course, in the Caribbean, but the majority went that way, west. So we are distinct in that we didn't end up living or growing up in the plantation system of the United States. Mark my word, that's a different system. Jim Crow ain't nothing to play with. That will damage you for life. We are distinct in that many of the people who were in the Bahamas, when they came here, they landed as free people because they made good on some agreements they made, even coming in with the Loyalists who were coming here for themselves to escape persecution. And then the others, like my family who landed, my mother's family who landed in the Abacos, they were shipwreckers. Right. They never landed in the United States or in the Bahamas as slaves. They broke up the ship when they landed in a place just west of Treasure Key and Abaco. They broke up the ship and they came on shore and started their own world and their own life. And they had to make it. We are distinct in that my father's crew, who were in Cat Island, Lord Dumfries, you could check him, and the largest estate in Scotland is named after Lord Dumfries, who settled Cat Island. By the way, King Charles, that is where he spent a lot of his time in Scotland. And that estate saw that the plantation system in the Bahamas was not going to work. Okay? And they abandoned them. They left. Cat Island had a railroad and all kind of things, you know. When they saw that wasn't working, they left. And they left them people out there a couple 100 years ago. And they figure, I mean, if there ain't no food or nothing, they probably ain't make it. They basically left us to die.
Right.
And if you come back around here now and you see us 250, 300 years later, you must be at least pleasantly surprised. We didn't die. We made it. That's a credit to our ingenuity, and these people in the family islands, we got to get that back. That's part of our promise. Part of the promise of our forefathers is saying, yeah, we got to go to Nassau, we got to hustle, we got to make a way, we got to make a life. But the future of the Bahamas will be the return to our own family island, small nation states, local government, and bringing about economic, social, mental, spiritual stability in these lands.
And so
we are
said that in his first fireside chat, because that's one of the talks, because he didn't call it a speech, that I really remember vividly when talking about Grammy must go, let Grammy go smoke a pipe and the children play, but we need to get down to work even harder now than we've ever worked before, and so forth. And I think that's part of what we've lost of the promise, that we think everything is supposed to be entitled and we're supposed to just receive and stop working. But the first instruction demand from God was to work, cultivate the space. So, but before I go too far down that road, what you started to talk about the 7, and 7 is the perfect number. Share with that before.
So I will share with you all. One of my gifts I have is I had a photographic memory. And I remember a writing of my grandfather, and he was talking with Sir Lyndon and a group of, to him, young men around the table, and he was talking about the 7 drivers of human and national development. Make sure you get in that order. He said a nation is built on how the people feel. That's how you build a nation. It's how they feel about themselves in this space and place. So the first part is your sovereignty, is having a sovereign nation, a place to call your very own. So prior, and this is another thing that people say with ain't happened in 1973. Duh, I can show you my first passport. I born in 1965.
Mm-hmm.
I was born a British subject.
Mm-hmm.
Not citizen, subject. Who the hell am I to subjected to? What am I supposed to be subjected to? What the hell is this? I only keep it to show my children.
Mm-hmm.
In 73, I got a Bahamian passport.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 50 years later, you know, one of the most sought after passports in the world, because people sell passport now. One of the most sought after passport in the world, Happy, is a Bahamian passport.
Mm-hmm.
In the world. Consider that. That's your sovereignty.
But
We are a
should see that
sovereign nation.
From the COVID environment, look how many people came here and just sat on their yachts.
People's breaking off, running to the Bahamas. People still breaking off. We are, I can say this open, I'm big clear with it. I know fellas from all over the world, every corner of the world. Everyone in the world is interested in the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
There are reasons for that. The next part, the human driver of national development, is leadership. Leadership, man. When you look at what our leaders have done, and I ain't just talking Finland either. I mean, for 100 years, look at what we have done. Give Stafford Sands some credit sometimes too. Just because he is a white racist or whatever, that, you come into people who have their own views. That's their business. God does funny things with funny people. He's still making him open the door to something we now enjoy as tourism, and no one else in the Caribbean was paying attention to this thing called tourism. Nobody. Someone had the vision at some point to say, yeah, too, you know what to do too? This dollar look like this go up and down. And if you have your own currency and you buy yourself, that's that independence head. He said, why don't we tie our dollar to the US dollar? But look like that don't bounce too much. Kaboom. Well, look at us now, buddy. We solid as a rock. But then 1 minute, we're solid. That is leadership. Then you had Penland, you had Ingram, you had Chris, and all of them are recent leaders. I don't know, Minnie slid in there behind Ingram somehow. All our recent leaders were taught at the foot of the great one. My old man called him Elo, but everyone knows him as Sir Lyndon Oscar Pendley.
Right.
He knew what he was doing. And his gift, by the way, wasn't, and he would always tell you, it wasn't all him. He knew it was divine. He used to get his messages from Udall Green and them in Andros, and Ari Cooper, Miss Reverend Brown from Bethel Baptist Church, C.H. Thompson, C.W. Sanders. He sit with them and they tell him, man, look at this, how this thing run. Leadership we've had, great leadership. Land, when you become your own place, we got 2.1 million acres of land in the Bahamas that belong to us. I ain't talking about the seabed good yet.
Right.
The wealth of nations is going to be the seabed soon. And y'all ain't seen nothing yet. Remember, I tell you this day, the land and the seabed, we're going to be one of the richest countries in the world. Then guess what you have the right to do as a nation? Grant licenses. Licenses. This we used to be mad with the UB people, and we still scared because we ain't used to money yet. 2014, I was sitting in Parliament. We had a new class of people they used to call gaming boys. I don't know why they call grown game men boys.
Yeah,
but you have one group of people that go to the bank, that's the hotel, Atlantis, all these other people, they go to the bank, put their gaming money into the bank, and they find it legal. The other group of people who look like us, they can't go to the bank, and the people trying to lock them up for doing the same activity. We said, you know what? That don't look right, don't sound right. That's not justice, social justice. Let's make this thing, let's level the playing field and allow the Bahamian gaming operators to be legal in their enterprise and put their money in a Bahamian bank and create it by that license. We granted 8 gaming licenses. By that license, we've created a new class of wealthy people in the Bahamas. License, when you are in your own nation, you can grant licenses.
Right.
We can grant licenses for, well, you're an engineer, you're in technology, you know the kind of licenses that are available now in the world. You know, highly respected the jurisdiction of the Bahamas is everywhere in the world. The kind of license agreements we can get into so young Bahamians could go out there and become millionaires and billionaires.
Yep.
You have the ability to grant a license. We have the technology around us. These young kids now, you're a tech person. The next thing is technology. The technology that we walk into that's a Lyndon and my old man them didn't have. They never see computer growing up. Some of them may see electricity growing up. You know, the technology we have available to us now to do work anywhere in the world at any moment is insane. That means more people can come to the table. Now, man, tell me the simple thing about the table. If you don't have a seat at the table, you might be dinner. You could be food. Don't be no fool. We have the Bahamas has a seat at the table right now in the world. Everyone knows about us. They respect us. They like us. And there's something special about us we ain't touched yet, is your culture. So when you have a nation, the promise is as you create your identity, you take on this thing called a culture. A culture of what? I ain't just talking drinking, smoking, going to Junkanoo now.
Right.
A culture of excellence. A culture of what we have seen in sports, engineering, art. We have more Rhodes Scholars per capita than anyone else in the world. When we go to the Olympics, we win the Olympics by per capita medals per country. We are out there, but we have a culture of Bahamian excellence that we now have to begin to explore and explain to each other and encourage people, pull them in, bring in more people to this thing that we're doing, that we're good at. That's our culture. When you get all of this together, man, you give people opportunity. And what is opportunity? It is simple. Give them a chance. The old boys also taught me, say, Danny, talent is equally distributed among the human race. Who are talented people everywhere, all over the world. It says opportunity is not.
Right.
So when you become a nation state, when you have power, when you become the king, when you become the prime minister, when you get in charge, when you're the chairman, your job is give the damn people a chance.
Yep.
Create opportunity for as many people as often as we can, everywhere we can, as much as we can, for as long as we can.
Be mentors and cheerleaders for them.
Give it to them. And look, Caesar said it beautifully. He says, is there anything too great for a soldier of Rome? Is there anything too good for a soldier of the Bahamas? Is there anything too good for Bahamian people? You know what we've been through to get here? And now you got stupid? Stop playing with these people. If you lead them, you must love them. If you can't do it, go home.
Yeah, we gotta be on the right plane to understand who we actually put in positions to lead us in different things, because the people we put have to have the capacity to lead, and so that's part of the lostness in the promise itself.
But this is hard work. You gotta be tough. You gotta be tough, man. The fellas we come from Happy, they ain't no lightweight, easygoing people, man.
Yeah, but
But they stood up for what was right.
Yeah, I grew up learning that anything from God that is worthy is simple, though not easy. But we seem to go down this rut where we want to be easy. We want easy road. We want the handouts. We want this. But just to put a little stop on your thing there, I think you got 2 more, 3 more to go. But the Larry Davis says, one more question. It is my understanding that the largest church in the Bahamas is the Baptist Church. What is the lasting legacy of the Baptist Church in the Bahamas?
Well, that's a great question. I think I will attempt that, and I got to be careful because I sit on the on the board of the Bahamas Baptist Missionary and Educational Convention. I'm subaltern Bethel assistant, just so you all know. So I won't get thrown to church. I can't afford that. However, during the time when things got rough, Larry, and we needed help, and they invited, and you know who invited them down? Ari Cooper, H.W. Brown, C.W. Saunders. They invited down the mega fellas of the Baptist movement. Medgar Evers, the great legal mind. They invited down Martin Luther King to come and join with us to reinforce us. That was a Baptist church. Then when the common black people were not allowed to go to certain places and be in certain circles, they could go to the Baptist church. And the Baptist church gave us the charge of Leviticus. They gave us the charge, you know, Penny used to talk about that thing in Exodus. On the 10th day of the first month, they gave us a charge in the book of Leviticus about what's going to happen on the 10th day of the 7th month. They gave us the charge as to what was about going to happen in the book of Peter, about what kind of people we were. And they brought the masses of people together in one movement from the faith, right, of this idea that we could be fully human, full participants in God's glory on earth. Regular people. And they still laugh at the little boys. There people, you know, the Methodists, Catholics, and they say the Baptists, this, another man. That's the largest group of people that ever voted in one group at one time in the Bahamas. And it wasn't for that Baptist church. When things got really rough, I ain't sure you would have had majority rule.
Right.
The women's suffrage movement and the Baptist church, we better give them thanks.
Yeah. So if
That's
you look at
that's the mass movement right there.
Yeah. So if we look at that then, and we look at where we are now, and we talk about the unfulfilled promise, then are we saying then that the church, in particular the Baptist conglomerate, as a lack of a better term, of the mass, the biggest volume of persons, is falling down and pushing or causing, inspiring people to fulfill the promise?
No. So this is how it works. Every generation is going to have to do their work in the cause of the common good. The generation before us, they have done their work. I mean, I congratulate them, I love them, I bless them, I honor them. They have done their work. I don't think they could do any more, right? It is now our time, knowing the work that they did, to do more, right?
But that's what I'm saying. Is it the church who is going to inspire us to know to do more?
Yes, it will, because you know God always leaves a remnant. In the Bible, it tells you about what meaneth these stones, that they're these stones that they left in the Jordan, as people how they got over on dry land, but they left the stones there so that others who come behind would see. People like you and I, we are some of those stones. We are to remind people how we got over on dry land by these faithful people. We couldn't do this on our own. What happened in the Bahamas, my friend, could not happen by the hands of man. This happened by the hands of God. Admit it.
Yep.
And we can move on. But if you can't get to that point, then we stuck. This place happened by the hands of God himself. And the people at the forefront of that were them little poor black people from over the hill. They prayed. They marched. They sacrificed.
Yep.
You want to leave them out now?
No, we can't.
You want another revolution? I'll lead that for you. You lead them out, you get a revolution. This wouldn't be a quiet revolution. No fool with that.
For sure. No.
This by the hands of God now. We must include these same people. We talk about crime and this, crime. And no such thing as crime, The worst sin on earth is poverty. The worst feeling a person has is being left out. You don't get rid of crime, get people out of poverty,
Yep.
bring them in.
Embrace them.
That's the promise. The promise of what Sir Lyndon and my old man them are talking about. Say, take care of these people.
Yes. So Mark Roberts is saying, I appreciate your inspiration, Dr. Johnson, but the foundation of our prosperity is losing its legs: education, health, and social disorder. At the lowest today, leadership must fix this now. Well, I would say leadership is at all levels, but you answer.
Well,
your
but
farm.
when you think about prosperity, I mean, who is the largest economy in the Caribbean? Who does everyone look to in the Caribbean? In all the regional context. I mean, it's us. When you look at us, we are the third largest GDP per capita in the Western Hemisphere. We have more road scholars. I'm saying you got people who are left out, left behind. We're not losing our legs. When my parents grew up, there were 2 high schools in the Bahamas. 2 in one generation, Abby.
Mm-hmm.
We got 164 doing schools, man,
Yeah.
in one generation. When they were growing up, there was 1 clinic, 1 hospital. We have 120 clinic in the Bahamas.
It's all perspectives of the individual.
But how are you losing something? And you when you know where you come from. What are you losing?
Well, I guess some people will say is how much cash was in the bank at the time. But I would say to this,
We can make more money. We could always make money. We have to know where we at,
Yeah.
where we're going, and always, we want to start a new conversation. The Bahamas, you're very good at this, Happy. Start with why.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
You want to do all these things? Tell me why.
Yeah. And I was going to say, during COVID, we always talk about the new built environment on the show. And the new built environment is built on 5 pillars, right? Sun, sand, sea, digital, and people. And the sun, sand, and sea is not the traditional tourism sun, sand, and sea. We're talking about renewables,
Technology.
eating from the ground, and the marine safaris that are out there, etc. You talk about the seagrass and the lands, and we have what 1,000 square miles of sea that we benefiting from, and you got the
100,000 square miles.
100,000, yes,
100,000 square miles.
So when we look at all those things, the potential as to what we have to complete this promise is so huge, where the promise to me would be completed when the wider scope of Bahamians are able to fend for themselves. That doesn't mean they can all be multimillionaires or not, but they will not have to be stressed out all the time trying to figure out what is what, right? And the potential is there. We had a period, an era when my parents grew up and your parents grew up, when there was a lot of people doing trade. And we seem to have gone away from that because we're entitled, or we think that we have arrived or whatever. And I see there's a movement of recent where we want to push everybody to get back to the point where we can actually start to be productive citizens as a whole, each individual, and hold their own right, not just because somebody is light-skinned, the another one's dark, that you in a different class, and all of that got to go out the way, I don't see these things as being legs lost. I think that what it might be is that people might have been misguided or misdirected along the way for whatever reason they did it for. But now we just need to now find a way to close this promise off. Because if we look at Moses, everybody talk about Penn being the Moses generation, and then we now in the Joshua generation. When Moses took them out, that was fine, and that might have happened at majority rule and the like. If you want to use that as a landmark, I always say that it's Black Tuesday was the real to do when people got enlightenment in their head. But when we look at now going into the promised land, right? That's a scenario that has to happen based on our preparation, and people don't understand that everybody stayed out in the wilderness for all those 40-odd periods because God wanted the whole mindset of what was taken out of to
Yes.
now disappear before you go into the new. So you
Can
can
I
go
answer-
into the new proper
So these are
prepared.
generational conversations. So I'm saying to you, our generation is tasked with facilitating this transition.
Right.
We have to now stand up happy without favor, without equivocation, without any reservation whatsoever, and stand up what we know is right in this country. I ain't talking about no election, what color you wear, what
No,
this, that,
I
the other.
agree. I
As a
understand what
black
you're saying.
fella, I like being black. And I trying to get blacker. I'd be out in the day, my transit, do trying to Santana. I don't care. It's what inside.
You
Let's
carry,
stand up for what is
carry
right.
water
The
with you everywhere
promise,
now, though.
well, Trey, the promise is what we're going to continue from what they showed us. We know exactly where we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to do. Some people have to stand up and do it. The drivers are your sovereignty, gave you a sovereign land, leadership. We got great leadership. The lands you inhabit, you reserve and preserve them for the generations to come. That is a part of their dream. The licenses we grant, the technology we encounter, and the culture we have, all those 7 must accrue to the opportunities for as many as we can. You know, it's an interesting thing in the House of Assembly. My sister was a female speaker. I got a little emotional earlier, sorry. My first female speaker of the House of Assembly, and they say something in the House of Assembly. I'm number 7 in my family to sit in the House of Assembly, which is bizarre to me, but it happened. They say every time the speaker closes out one person, the next person goes to speak. They say as many. And people miss what that phrase is. When they say as many, is who do you come to speak on behalf of? Who you come here to represent and come to pitch for these people? Don't tell me about yourself. I want to know nothing about you. Your grandson is sending me 1 million pictures a day. I don't want to know nothing about you. Who you come here to represent? Show me the 400 people you're helping. I know your name. I know that where you come from. We voted for you.
Right.
When they say as many, who did you come to petition on behalf of? That's a generational wealth conversation. Who are going to be the inheritors of what we have done? The Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance for the next generation. What are we going to pass on? Miles Monroe's greatest book, I tell you, it's a treatise. It's simple. It's called Passing It On. That's the conversation we should be in. What we have, good. Well, let's amass this wealth. Let's get this thing together. And let's begin to pass this on. You want to see no crime? You want to see frustration come out of these people's eyes? Man, let's start passing on some things, man. What you holding on to? You think you're gonna dead with these things?
Yeah, you
You
know,
ain't dead with none of this.
and I say it to people every day. They ask me why people could. Well, first of all, my door to my office, wherever I work, has always been open. And I figure, whilst we in the normal working hours, between the 9 to 5 or 8 to 4, or whatever it is, that's for the people who are supposed to be leading time. And the real work that I have to do as an individual contributor is done outside of those hours or in some
sir.
low time during those
Yes, sir.
hours, right? And so when the good gentleman came around to bring the lady to introduce her to me as a new staff just the other day, and he said, this is a new person within us, but you will find that his door is always open. So if you have a question, he has a wealth of knowledge and experience.
Come
Go
and
and
sir.
ask him.
Yeah.
And he'll sit there and stop what he's doing to answer the question. And I was like, this guy only knew me 2 weeks. And you're already saying that. Right? So I'm not saying that to big me up or anything like that, but that's the mindset I think that we need to have. Abraham Lincoln said, and I think you've seen me quote this multiple thousands of times because I believe this to the T. For success to happen, it's the philosophy in the classroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next generation. When that don't happen, we don't have success. When that happens, we have exponential success. And so I only say that to say, as we look at this, if we want to get this promise done, we have to make these type of adjustments as we move forward. And the people who had a mindset in one generation, they're not going to change that by themselves. We have to apply ourselves so that that can happen. Because, you know, they call us the promised generation. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, we are.
And
We are the
always say
promise.
that the promise was not fulfilled, or that means that we're not fulfilled. You know, everybody put on this earth for a for a purpose.
A
And so
purpose,
we have
yeah.
to fulfill our purpose. And when we do that, the promise will be fulfilled. That's the way I see
But
it. I don't know if you see it the same way.
I see the same way, and my brother, and we must just get ready, because before we leave this place, you ain't getting out of here without doing what you're supposed to do for God. So before we leave, we got to get with the program. And we were the promise, we're the living promise of our grandparents and parents. But there are people coming behind who we have to bestow promises upon. So this is when I say, when you get a nation, you're doing something the Creator did, to create a group of people that belong to something bigger than themselves. And so we have to promise them something. We also know something of all great holy scriptures. He said that God is not a man that he should lie. So once he says it, that settles it. That can happen. Ain't no doubt in my mind. I get an interesting call every now and again from the mother of the nation. And she tell me about these promises. And I'm like, yeah. She said, well, what you doing? She want me to do more. I'm like, no, Mom, I ain't my time yet. And she said, but when it can be? I say, well, look here, a lady in Cat Island tell her something one day. She said, that's the promise. I said, it can happen. She said, geez, you're not getting old, you know. I said, well, don't worry, it can happen. And it'll happen in your lifetime.
Yeah.
Happy these things are gonna happen. We must be faithful to the cause.
Yeah, but you know, the good Lord say faith without works is dead, right? And so I always say that we have to do some works. And so you talked about the Baptist church and the different persons who were to facilitate the original works that laid the foundation, and we have now works to do. So what adjustments that we have to do before we set everybody free to go and do the work? What adjustments need to happen to be able to bring that mass of people in the same direction again, of building this nation the way it was started, that hasn't been completed?
A great question. I think it's an introspection. We have to, Michael Jackson got a great song, I'm looking at the man in the mirror. Us as a people, we need to take pause. This is a good time after this 50-year celebration. It's a great weekend. And let's take a look at ourselves. Are we living up to the dictates, the commands, the expectation? Are we living embodiments of the dream of what our parents and grandparents really wanted for us? Do we know enough about our shared history that we feel solid as a people as to who we are? In Junction, we get around the fire and say, who are we? Who are we? Who are we? That is the question of a culture. Well, who are you? And where are you? And what you come to do? That's an interest. We have to have that conversation. It's a wonderful conversation to have. Parts of it is painful, but there's no victory without a battle.
Yes, awesome. Well, Doc, it's always been a pleasure to sit under the tree with you and have these type of conversations and let the flow go where it go. And hopefully we've been of value to you out there in social media. Thank you all who have raised your questions or even tuned in for the benefit of those out there, your friends, etc. Hit the like button on the screen and share because we want this information to go out and inspire people to become the best that they can be. And
if I may have it, I would like to leave you with the words that I sent you this morning as we began. In this new frontier, in this new world, where we take our place at the table. And there's a quote. It says, many battles have been won, but the struggle is far from over. We must continue to build a Bahamas where people feel proud about themselves and about their country, you must still build the Bahamas where the common good supersedes the individual aspiration. A Bahamas where the personal goal is in harmony with the national goals. We still have a heritage to explore and a destiny to create.
Bam Bam. Can't say it better than that. Actually, you got another Bam Bam too, right? I mean, I call it Bam Bam, but you call it something else. I don't know what happened to my screen. I can't see on my screen.
You like that? And you get that? Bam, that's our magazine.
The screen is frozen. I don't know.
That's all over the world now.
My screen frozen. Okay, yeah.
You got it.
Cool. Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. So, Doc, like I say again, Rockland, happy 50th anniversary, Bahamas. You know, we get another 50 to go. I'm not reached my peak yet, so I want to be able to see what this Bahamaland look like 50 years from now.
Nice.
And so forth. And, you know, we look forward and we thank you kindly for your service and your generosity, because you're one who I always find to be very generous. Whenever we come across each other, we stop, talk, and there's always some nugget that you share in based on some experience that you had in life. And I just encourage everybody to continue to do that. But before we go, if you have anything that you wanted to say to the public different than what you was already said, then do have that, and then we'll have Madam Producer send us the party to finish. You know, we only did the road to 50 now. We got to now do the 50, right? That's we lead up to 50. Now we have to do the next 365 days have to be the 50 celebration with all we people. So if you don't have anything else, we will welcome the Madam Producer to.
Yeah, man. My thing is just love you. God bless you.
Thank you all, and say hello to everybody for me.
Enjoyed the show? Then subscribe to us for more educational and inspirational content. Ring the bell so